This video proudly brought to you by the fine people at Housemade Industrial. Whether you're new to knife making or a seasoned pro, visit housemade.us to up your game with affordable quality gear.
Welcome back to Frenchie's Forge. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. Today we're going to be talking about the topic of small wheel attachments. I'm lucky enough to have two different small wheel attachments made by two different companies. We're going to be talking about the pros and cons of both, the comparison of both, and really the versatility behind each one. What they're meant for and what exactly you can do with them and why you might want to own a small wheel attachment for your belt grinder. Now, what are they used for? They're used for grinding in radiuses, tight radiuses, into different materials, whether that be wood or metal. Here on my channel, I make knives, and this knife here was one of the very first knives that I needed a small wheel attachment for. You can see on this particular knife, we have several different radiuses in here. This is a hardened metal file, and it's one that I did not heat treat. I simply just tempered this thing, and it's incredibly tough and hard steel. This is really hard to do with a Dremel bit or an angle grinder per se. It's hard to get these sorts of radiuses that are even and uniform into your material without a small wheel attachment. So this particular knife, I was right in the middle of working on it, trying to come up with a solution to figure out how to grind these nice tight circles into this knife, and I happened to discover the small wheel attachment. So I hopped on eBay and I picked this one up for probably 40 to 50 bucks to get it to my door. I don't know what company made it. I'm really not sure. And there's all kinds of different versions of this particular style. Now, let's talk a little bit about this first one. When I first bought this, I had to modify this to get it to work for this grizzly grinder. Now, this grizzly grinder is a little bit unique in the fact that it's a very specific type of tooling arm slot. It just utilizes plate steel, essentially, or bar steel that fits into these little slots up here. I did not have another chunk of metal to bolt this to the side, and I decided to go ahead and cut this piece out of the way. There used to be a piece kind of bracing it here. I decided to go ahead and chop that thing off and cut and grind this down to just make this the insert to get it into the little slot here so that I could use it. Another modification that I did shortly after buying this thing is at the very front end. You can see here I've got the biggest wheel that this thing came with. It barely sticks out above the arms that hold the wheel in. Before I cut those arms off, I could easily take a knife up to the belt in this direction, and I could grind, a little finger choil or notch or whatever I was doing in this direction. But if I wanted to go perpendicular to the belt like this, I wasn't able to do it because the chunks of metal here and here were just sticking out too far where I could not utilize this thing in this direction. So I had to cut those off. And now that I did that, I am able to use this for kind of fullering in, areas in between pinholes for knife handles and other tasks. We'll get to a clip of kind of a comparison of that between the two here in a minute, but I just want to give you guys kind of a backstory of my experience with buying this particular one. This is the other small wheel attachment that I have, and for those who have been following my channel, I just recently purchased and built a Generation 5 Revolution grinder from Housemade, and this is the small wheel attachment that they make in-house there at Housemade, and it's pretty typical, I feel like, of what you would find on a normal small wheel attachment setup. It doesn't bolt straight into the receiver tubes, it bolts to the side of a tooling arm. So right away, there's kind of a difference. And it's not something that you have to cut or modify when you purchase. It's pretty much just ready to go. You throw the bolts and nuts in, and you're pretty much grinding right away. Another thing that's going to probably jump out at you, and it did for me, was this top wheel here. Now, I'm not sure the terminology of this. I just call it a deflector wheel, but it essentially takes the belt out of your way and gives you this nice tight turn here without a bunch of excess belt in the way. Now, if you don't know what I mean, I can show you here. This is the setup that I have for the Grizzly. And you can see that the belt is just in line with the tracking wheel. And you do have the radius still, but the belt doesn't completely get pulled flat back. So the radius does change a little bit without that wheel there. So right away we can tell that this deflector wheel is pretty important, and I think that it makes the experience of grinding a lot better. Not only that, but it also allows you to get this exact radius of this wheel without the belt getting in the way. It really depends on what kind of grinding you're going to be doing as to if this is a big deal to you or not. But after using both of them, I can tell you that now that I know that these exist, I'm glad that this comes with it. All right, so when you buy the cheaper small wheel attachment, you get 5 different wheels, and these are all relatively close to the same size. I believe the increments are 1/8 inch. So you have a 1/2 inch, 5/8, 3/4, 7/8, and then 1 inch. So you get that 1/8 inch increment in between each wheel. Now, to be honest, I really don't see much of a need to have this close of a difference in wheel size. Could it be useful in some situations? Yeah, sure. But I found that either one of these would work for whatever I was doing. They're so close in the same size to one another that they do about the same thing. These are pretty decent. The bearings are good on them, and you can tell the wheels are made from metal. Now, taking a look at the wheels that come with the house-made small wheel attachment, you get 4 different sizes. First being a 1/2 inch, then you get the jump to 3/4 of an inch, and then an inch, and the one that's currently on the machine is 2 inches. So right out of the gate, you get more variety, and you do it in less wheels. And to me, it makes more sense to offer those diameters because they're different. And for different applications, you might want to use a different size. The jump from 5/8 to a 1/2 inch is not that noticeable. But if we're talking 1/2 inch to 3/4 to an inch to 2 inches, then you got a little bit more variety to choose from. Now, you also may notice the difference in these in that the bearings are bigger and the wheels are made of rubber. Now, I'm sure there's a metal shaft through here, but the actual grinding surface that's underneath of the belt is nice hard rubber. And we're going to do a demonstration here in a minute and show you the difference between hard rubber and steel and show you why I feel like the rubber ones are way better. Now that we have a little bit of upfront knowledge in between these two, their differences and how they came to be in my shop, let's go ahead and we'll take a look at each one and do a little bit of comparing at some different projects. All right, so for this first demonstration, we're just going to take a chunk of wood and we're going to lay it into the belt and see what the difference is in between this small wheel attachment versus this one. Now, I've equipped both machines with the 1 inch small wheel, and that way the notches should be comparable. Let's go ahead and start with the house-made small wheel attachment. I also have a 120 grit ceramic belt on here. This is a brand new belt, as well as the other machine over here has the exact same belt, exact same grit from the exact same belt manufacturer. Let's go ahead and run this a little bit and we'll see what we get. So we have an exact negative of this 1-inch wheel. And you can tell that it's really smooth. Both sides are even. And the experience of this was quite nice. There wasn't a whole lot of belt movement or chatter. And the end result, at least for wood, is definitely nice. This is incredibly smooth and even. Let's go ahead and attempt this same thing on the other small wheel. All right, so that experience was also pretty smooth. And you can see for the most part, they are relatively close. However, you can notice a slight difference in the fact that this one almost looks like a complete half circle. And this one looks kind of like a circle with the corners mashed out a little bit. And I think that that particular application is where the deflector wheel really shines. And you can see that because the belt travels straight back up this way, it's starting to eat a little bit at the corner. Whereas on the other one, we didn't really get that because we have this wheel here making sure that this is level with the ground, and so it's not eating away at those corners. Now, as far as chattering goes or smoothness, honestly, it's about the same. And I really didn't notice much of a difference in between the two other than the outcome. Let's go ahead and we'll try the same thing with metal. All right, so we just have some mild steel here, and we're just going to do the exact same thing with metal, and we'll see if we notice a difference. Now, I didn't go quite as deep with that, but you can tell by looking at this, it almost chewed through it just like it was a piece of wood. It was really smooth, not a whole lot of bumping or chattering as I'm doing this, and the condition of the metal is really, really nice. You can tell that the 120 grit belt almost polishes this metal. Let's go ahead and we'll try the other one. All right, so I don't know if you caught that or not, but when I tried applying a little bit more pressure to this, the actual belt almost lost traction and scooched over this way for a minute. It really didn't mess up the actual grind too much, but again, you can see the difference in between them. This one has more of a circle pattern, and this one has the ends exposed. Now, for the most part, they're both relatively in the same condition as really the only thing that we're going off of is the actual belt. They're the same kind of belt, so that's probably to be expected. I will say with this one, I'm not sure if you were able to hear it or not. I did a little bit, and I could feel it some, is that I don't know what it was, whether it's just the belt or this actual, because this thing is metal, but you can kind of feel this thing jumping really small, like super small jumps as this belt is rotating. Now it's pretty minor, but you definitely can feel that belt kind of, or your piece wanting to jump back. And it might just be the seam on the belt. I'm not really sure. But you don't have a whole lot of forgiveness with a metal backer, and so you're going to feel more of that stuff, like the belt seam or imperfections of a belt. Whereas on the other one, I didn't feel anything. It just felt nice and smooth.
All right, so after these couple of quick tests, we kind of get an idea of the differences between these two small wheel attachments. Now, I'm not making this video just to badmouth the cheap one and simply say that it's junk, because it's not. It works. And I'm also not making this video just to sing the praises of the house-made one, even though I kind of am. There's really not a whole lot that I can find wrong with it. It's a well-built small wheel attachment, and for the money, I think it is a fair price for a quality product. I really just want to make sure that you, as the audience, know that I am not trying to make this video just for that reason. I really want to just give the information to you to let you decide what you like better, and in hopes that you can learn from this. You know, I feel like a lot of my audience are newer knife makers or people interested in getting in the hobby, and the whole point of my channel was to basically just share what I've learned on the journey thus far. I feel like doing videos like this is a great way to tell people about a small wheel attachment, what they're used for, and then to give a couple of real world experiences between two different ones. So I just wanted to say that just because Housemade is sponsoring the video doesn't mean I'm going to point out all the wonderful things about this one and trash the other one. They're both usable, and I honestly will recommend both of them. You can't really go wrong with this one. But there is a better version if you want a better product. It's just that simple. So before we wrap up this video, I've got a couple more quick tests that I want to do just to further demonstrate a few more points. This first one will be just a couple of quick clips of actually my last video that I did where I was putting in a fuller on a knife handle, and I can show you kind of the difference in between the two and what they do. The very last test that I want to do, which is again grinding more metal, basically because both of these machines are meant for metal, not necessarily for wood. There's all kinds of specific grinders or sanders specifically for wood. These two machines I feel like are made and geared more towards metalworking. So
What I want to do is grind some more metal, but I want to use a silicon carbide belt and choose a higher grit just to see what the differences are when we're grinding with a much higher grit. Well, there you go. A quick comparison between the two small wheel attachments that I currently own. Hopefully this video was informative to some people, and hopefully I answered the question of what is a small wheel attachment and what does it do. This is an absolutely valuable piece to your belt grinder for knife making. Really, in metalworking in general, it could be super handy, but in particular for knife making, this thing is absolutely awesome. And if you don't own one, I highly suggest going over to Housemade and purchasing this small wheel attachment for your belt grinder. I really do think that it's pretty simple, and the way it's engineered, it could work on many different types of belt grinders. And it's pretty clear that there's a winner in between these two, right? It's definitely this one. And although this one does cost more money, it's absolutely justified. It has way more features than the other one does. I feel like the hard rubber wheels are way better than the metal ones. The fact that you get a deflector wheel here to get the belt out of your way while you're grinding is super awesome. And lastly, I feel like the different sizes that you get with this, you can do more things. Having the 1/2 inch to 1 inch, there's just not a lot you can do with that. But having everything from a 1/2 inch to 2 inches on this really does give you those extra options for different types of grinds on different projects. Now, this is something new for me. Having a sponsor my YouTube channel and help me out, for them to send me a piece of gear to review, my first inclination is to go above and beyond to sing the praises of this thing, to go out of my way to make sure that this appears to be a better product than the other one. I did not have to do that. It just simply is a better product than the other one. So they made it super easy for me. I didn't have to try and make this look awesome. It's already just awesome all on its own. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and let me know what you think in the comments below. I really enjoyed doing this comparison video. I have been doing a lot of different types of videos lately, and I'm ready to get back into making some more knives. I've got a couple of really cool ideas coming up that I want to get started into, and we've also got the forge press build to do as well. However, I believe on the next episode, we'll be jumping back in to making some knives, and I look forward to seeing you guys there. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.